where did you get the idea that you, a woman, could get on a plane and go to the other side of the world and put out some advertisement, and you believed, why did you believe people would come?
Well, you know, I didn't get the idea about the airplane, but I sure got the idea about women going from the Bible. Jesus sent...
I've lived around you for some years, and I know that.
He has sent women, beginning with his resurrection message that he entrusted to Mary.
Look at that.
Can you imagine? And he sent her to go tell the disciples. Why didn't he just send her to the market?
Wait, that's too fast. don't run that through that fast. Wait, let's listen to her. She's telling something that's real important.
Think about it. His resurrection message, the first time it was proclaimed, he is risen.
Yeah.
Not only did a woman declare it, but Jesus sent her with the message. So she was an apostle, a sent one. And he didn't just send her to the market or to the beggars or to the women's quarter.
No.
He sent her to the disciples who were in a room, no doubt frightened. The door was locked. No doubt they were fearing for their own lives, which would be normal. We can appreciate that. But here you have this woman who had abandoned all fear to take on this assignment from Christ. So as far as I'm concerned, if Christ could entrust that great message to Mary, he would also entrust it to me, and likewise every woman who knows Christ and knows the message. There's a big world out there, and we can tell it to the women, we can tell it to the beggars, and we can tell it to the men who are the preachers. We have that authority in Christ.
You know, when we go back and forth all the time. You one country, me another.
Right.
Sometimes we go together, and seeing that, we have to force ourselves to remember how people think over here who haven't seen those things. You know, you can say to me, Osborn, come on, calm down. You're talking about a boy that's no eyes, and now he gets eyes. Come on. Well, I saw it. I saw it. And I shook that little woman's hand and blessed her and was so happy. And that woman wept and wept and wept and wept. So thankful. But the story didn't end there. Don't miss the rest of the story. That little woman, everybody was overwhelmed with the miracle, because all of a sudden here come some preachers and here come some people from her village. They knew the boy because it was rather a wonder of God that he would be born without eyes, no eyeballs to see with. And it happened that he was from the same tribe as the president of Kenya. And so how do you explain it? You can't explain it. But the little boy was healed. I've got to tell you a little bit more about the story. We finally dispersed the multitude of people, and we went, you know, everybody went home. Well, we were living in an old hotel alongside the road, and didn't have windows. It had doors that opened to let the air in, because it's very hot in Kenya. And so we went to bed and rested. The next morning, we heard noise in the streets. And we wondered what it was, curious. And we went and opened one of the doors, you know, to look out. And there, along the highway, was this mother, and carrying her son, talking loud, telling everybody, Jesus healed my boy. He couldn't see, and making the story. I mean, that woman just told it and told it and told it and told it. God bless the Africans. They tell things. Yeah. And she was so happy, and they had found out where we lived. So as they went by the hotel, they asked us to come down. So we went down in the street there and held the little boy and looked at him and talked to the mother and encouraged her. That'll do something to you, to hold a boy.
Hold a miracle.
Oh,
my goodness.
My. You know,
I love that story. And in fact, so many of the places where I minister, I tell that story.
They're good.
Because not only is it a gospel story, because Christ did a wonder, but because there are so many mothers with sick babies in every mass crowd. Not too long ago, I was in Benin, and right down on the front, near the platform, there was a very young mother, and she was holding a baby that I thought it was maybe a 2-3 month old baby, because it looked like a very tiny bundle. That woman stayed there. She heard the message. She accepted Christ. When it came time for the prayer, by this time there was so much commotion among the people. I was not thinking about this mother. I didn't know the baby was sick. Eventually, during the time of testimonies, people came to the platform and they're trying to tell their wonderful stories to the multitude. I see this young mother, and when I look at her, she's still holding this bundle, and I see a tiny little arm and hand reaching up, trying to reach the mother's face. And what we found out later was that that child was 2 years old. The child had teeth like a normal 2-year-old child, but the baby had never moved a muscle in her entire life. So there was no development. And so the miracle of just that baby reaching up, touching her mother's face, I pulled back the blanket and there was a big smile. Of course, the teeth surprised me. I was not expecting that of such a tiny bundle. But you see, I had told the story of Simeon, the baby that had no eyes. And that, I believe, stirred that mother's faith to believe if Jesus would do that for another mother's baby, then Jesus would do the wonder for her own baby. It's amazing. In fact, it was that same place that I had to close the meeting one night because it happens that the platform was very low. It should not have been, but it was low. And so during this testimony, mothers started pushing toward the platform, thrusting their little babies at me, desperate. I was so moved, Papa, with the number of paralyzed or blind or diseased or those babies with sores, so many diseases. That's the work of the devil. Only he would put diseases on these innocent children. But there is a God who destroys the works of the devil through Jesus Christ. And that is why we go, and that is why we tell. And these are the results we see because Jesus is really alive.